idea that we're very much controlled in life and in the things that we do. Where did you first come to that conclusion? Tell us the basis of all that.
Well, it kind of goes on from what you've been talking about so far, actually, from what I've been hearing. For me, we draw to us what we need to experience to evolve. I call it designer evolution.
Right.
And we draw to us what we need to experience to do whatever we're doing in this particular life. And the massive ridicule and condemnation I got in the early 1990s, seen in the moment was a nightmare, but seen with hindsight was a fantastic thing for me in two ways. One, it set me free of the biggest prison that most people live in, which is the fear of what other people think.
Right.
Most people are not living their life. They're not speaking their truth if it's at odds with the norm, because they're frightened of the consequences of being different in a world of uniformity. So most people are living their life on the basis of what they think others think they ought to be. I realized what a prison that was, and also the potential there was, therefore, to control people if you got them in that state, for reasons I'm sure we'll come to. The other thing that conclusion I came to at that time, for many reasons, was I realized from my own extreme experience how easy it was to get vast numbers of people to believe anything, so long as you told them the same thing often enough.
Right.
I am still, for instance, reading, because of this Glenn Hoddle thing in the last few days, that I've discovered for religion. Religion, for me, and everyone has their right to their opinion. To me, religion, the greatest form of mind control ever invented, at its most extreme, psychological fascism. Religion, for me, is a plague on the human mind. Next time you read a national newspaper, you will see Icke, the nutter who discovered religion. So I realized that it didn't really matter what someone really thought. It mattered what the media said they thought and believed, because that's what most people would think they believed.
You're kind of starting with this idea, though, and let's just get this out of the way now, because we're bound to get calls about this. Remind everyone of the number, 0500 10 53 89, if you've got a question you want to put
the point being, though, Dave, just quickly, is that if you create that situation where you can get vast numbers of people to think the way you want them to think, then the potential for control from the center is absolutely vast, because you cannot control billions of people physically. There's too many people.
Sure.
What you have to do, if you want to control the mass of the population and therefore control the direction the world goes to more and more centralization of power, which we're seeing every day, is you've got to get them to think the way you want them to think, preferably not to think at all.
Right.
And crucially, you have got to get them to police each other.
Right.
And this is what we do. If you take the symbolism or the analogy of the herd of sheep, there's two states of being that control a herd of sheep all over the world every day. One is the bar mentality, where most of them just follow the one in front because it's in front. And then there's, for the few that don't want to follow the one in front, there's the fear mentality, symbolized by the sheepdog that comes, rounds up the ones that are straggling. And that combination of bar and fear gets vast numbers of sheep exactly where one farmer and a sheepdog wants them every day. Now, if you look at the human expression of that, we've also fallen into this trap of bar and fear. Most people follow the one in front. He's got letters after his name, our Dave. He must know what he's talking about.
Right.
Well, he's the president and all this stuff. And then you've got the few who realize the limitation and the nonsense that we're being. But most of them, they still concede their uniqueness to that, keep their head down and their mouth shut, because they fear the consequences of speaking out against the norms. Now, what this means, in fact, is that the human herd, as you might put it, has actually out-sheep the sheep, because we dispense with the sheepdog. We don't even need one of them. We police each other. And this is where, I was talking on a television program the other night, this is where we get to this so important point that it's become a crime to be different. And once it becomes a crime to be different, it means whoever sets the norms runs the world. Because most people will live their life within those norms because they don't think for themselves. And the ones that realize the limitations of the norms, most of them will still live their lives within them because they fear the consequences of not doing that, which leaves a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the population who were prepared not just to look and identify the limitations of the manipulation, but actually stand up and speak out about it. So what we're looking at, in my view, and I put tremendous amounts of information about this in my books, we're looking at a situation where the world's actually controlled by a tiny few people, interbreeding bloodlines, in truth, going back a very, very long time. And they do it by manipulating the way people think and feel, and by getting the people to police each other.
For what purpose?
Well, the biggest secret, the new book, is 550 pages long, and it goes into great detail about the background to this and what's actually happening. But what I would say to you is that what I do, I do not have any preconceived ideas or preconceived notions. I just let information be my guide. I follow the information.
Right.
And where the information has led me, which I've gathered all over the world, I mean, I've spoken in 20 countries in the last 2 years, is in an area that is so extreme, so bizarre, and so staggering from the perspective of life that we have in what we call the normal world, that people have to read about it in the book if they're interested.